The first time I truly felt like an outsider in my own family wasn't at a celebration or holiday gathering. It was at my beloved Aunt Lillian's funeral. Standing alone beneath the massive oak tree that shadowed her casket, I watched my cousins huddle together, their designer black dresses and suits a stark contrast to my simple thrift store ensemble. My name is Callie, and I've spent 31 years trying to belong in a family that treats wealth like oxygen, essential for survival. The irony? Aunt Lillian was the only one who ever made me feel like I belonged. Look who decided to show up. Camilla's voice cut through the somber atmosphere as she approached, Quinn and Derek trailing behind her like perfectly trained show dogs. I'm surprised you could take time away from your little charity project. I straightened my spine, forcing a polite smile. It's a women's shelter, Camilla, and Aunt Lillian volunteered there too. Please, Derek scoffed, adjusting his Italian silk tie. Aunt Lillian would never step foot in such a place. She had standards. The memory of Aunt Lillian quietly sorting donations and counseling abuse survivors flashed through my mind, but I kept it to myself. She'd always asked me to keep her volunteer work private, away from her judgmental children. The lawyer's waiting, Quinn announced, checking her phone. We should head to the reading. I took a step forward, but Camilla's manicured hand shot out, stopping me. Oh, honey, didn't anyone tell you? The reading is for immediate family only. I am immediate family, I protested, heat rising to my cheeks. Aunt Lillian was my mother's sister. Yes, but we all know how Aunt Lillian felt about your branch of the family tree. Derek smirked. Always the black sheep, weren't you? Quinn at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. It's just, the lawyer was very specific about who should attend. We wouldn't want to waste anyone's time, Camilla added, her smile sharp as a knife. I mean, what could Aunt Lillian possibly leave to someone who spends their days serving soup to homeless people? I watched them walk away, their expensive shoes clicking against the cemetery path. An elderly woman who'd been standing nearby approached me, her kind eyes filled with concern. I couldn't help but overhear, she said softly. I'm Margaret. I worked with Lillian at the country club. Nice to meet you, I managed, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. Your aunt spoke about you often, Margaret continued, surprising me. She was so proud of your work at the shelter, said you were the only one who understood what really mattered in life. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Chelsea, the shelter's director. Need you at the center ASAP. Important news about Lillian. I glanced at my cousin's retreating backs, then back at my phone. Something in my gut told me this was important. Thank you, Margaret, I said, squeezing her hand. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that today. As I walked to my car, a reliable but ancient Honda Civic that stuck out like a sore thumb among the luxury vehicles, I heard Camilla's laugh echo across the cemetery. 10 years ago, that sound would have made me shrink into myself. Today, it just made me sad. You know what's funny? I heard Derek say to his sisters, she actually thought she'd be included in the will reading. As if Aunt Lillian would leave anything to someone who couldn't even afford a proper funeral outfit. I slid into my car, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The last time I'd seen Aunt Lillian, just days before she passed, she'd held my hand and whispered, Patience, dear one. Everything will make sense soon. Starting my car, I took one last look at the cemetery. My cousins had disappeared into their chauffeured car, probably heading to the lawyer's office to divide up what they saw as their rightful inheritance. They had no idea that Aunt Lillian had visited the shelter every Tuesday for the past 5 years, working quietly alongside me to help women rebuild their lives. They had no idea about a lot of things. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Chelsea. Found something Lillian left for you. You're going to want to see this. I put the car in drive, leaving behind the cemetery and my cousin's cruel laughter. Aunt Lillian always said timing was everything, and something told me she had one last lesson to teach about patience, karma, and the true meaning of family legacy. As I merged onto the highway, heading toward the shelter, I couldn't help but smile. Maybe being an outsider wasn't such a bad thing after all. Sometimes it gives you the perfect vantage point to see what others miss. The women's shelter stood in stark contrast to the mansions my cousins called home. A modest 3-story building with fading paint and a small garden out front. But unlike those cold marble halls, this place radiated warmth. As I walked through the front door, the familiar scent of coffee and fresh-baked cookies wrapped around me like a hug. "There you are." Chelsea rushed forward, her gray curls bouncing. "How was the funeral?" "About as pleasant as you'd expect," I said, hanging up my coat. My cousins made sure to remind me of my place in the family hierarchy. Before Chelsea could respond, Maria, one of our regular volunteers, poked her head out of the kitchen. "Is it true about Miss Lillian? She really passed away?" I nodded, and Maria's eyes welled up with tears. "But she was just here last week, helping me organize the donation closet." Chelsea shot me a knowing look. Most of the women here had no idea she was from Money. She'd show up in her gardening clothes, insisting on being called just Lillian. "That's because the real Lillian wasn't the society woman my cousins thought they knew," I said, following Chelsea to her office. "Remember how she used to bring those incredible homemade cookies? And tell everyone they were store-bought because she didn't want to seem like she was showing off." Chelsea laughed, then grew serious. "Which makes what I'm about to show you even more important." She unlocked her desk drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. "She dropped this off last month, made me promise not to give it to you until after she was gone." My hands trembled as I took the envelope. Aunt Lillian's elegant handwriting spelled out my name on the front. "She came to see me that day," Chelsea said softly. "Told me she'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer 6 months earlier. Said she had some loose ends to tie up." I sank into the chair across from Chelsea's desk, the envelope heavy in my hands. "She never told any of us she was sick." "Open it," Chelsea urged. She was very specific about the timing. Just then, a commotion erupted in the hallway. 2 women were arguing, their voices rising. Chelsea sighed. "I should handle this. Take your time with the letter." Alone in the office, I traced my finger over Aunt Lillian's handwriting, remembering the first time she'd caught me volunteering here 5 years ago. "I thought I recognized that laugh," she'd said, standing in the doorway in old jeans and a faded sweater. "Don't look so scared, dear. I'm not here to tell tales to the family." That day, she'd rolled up her sleeves and helped me sort donations for 3 hours. It became our secret Tuesday ritual. The black sheep and the family matriarch, working side by side to help women rebuild their lives. Taking a deep breath, I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. "My dearest Callie, if you're reading this, I've already passed. Don't waste time mourning. We both know I lived exactly as I chose to. What matters now is ensuring my legacy continues in the right hands. By now, my children and your cousins will be gathering for the reading of my official will. Let them. What they don't know is that 3 months ago, I made some significant changes to my estate planning. The shelter's building deed is enclosed with this letter. I purchased it last year when the previous owners threatened to sell. It's yours now, along with an endowment to ensure its continued operation. There's more, but that will become clear soon enough. You alone understood what I've known all along, that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the lives we touch. While the others were chasing status at country clubs, you were here, helping women find their strength. Don't reveal anything yet. Let the official reading proceed. Sometimes the best lessons come from unexpected moments. All my love, Aunt Lillian. P.S. Check the cookie jar in the kitchen. I left my secret recipe there last week. Those women deserve the real thing, not store-bought substitutes. My vision blurred with tears as I pulled out the property deed. Chelsea knocked softly before entering. "You okay?" she asked, closing the door behind her. I handed her the letter, watching her eyes widen as she read. "Oh my God," she whispered. "She bought the building? She knew the shelter was at risk," I said, wiping my eyes. "All those times she was organizing the donation closet, she was actually planning this." My phone buzzed. A text from Quinn. "We'll reading tomorrow at 2. Not that it matters to you." Chelsea handed the letter back, squeezing my shoulder. "What are you going to do?" I tucked the letter and deed safely in my bag, thinking of Aunt Lillian's words about unexpected moments and lessons. "First," I said, standing up, "I'm going to check that cookie jar. Then I'm going to do exactly what Aunt Lillian asked." wait for the right moment to show them who she really was and what family really means. Back home in my small apartment, I spread Aunt Lillian's documents across my kitchen table. The property deed was just the beginning. Tucked inside the envelope, I found a USB drive, bank statements, and another sealed letter marked, "Read after the will." My hands shook as I plugged the USB drive into my laptop. A single video file appeared, dated just 2 months ago. Aunt Lillian's face filled the screen, looking tired but determined. "Hello, dear." Her voice rang clear through my speakers. "If you're watching this, you've already found the deed. But there's more to tell you." I paused the video, needing a moment. Even through the screen, her presence felt so real it hurt. My phone buzzed again. Camilla this time. "Hope you're not too disappointed about missing tomorrow's reading. Though really, what did you expect?" I hit play again. "The lawyers will read a will tomorrow that my children and your cousins expect," Aunt Lillian continued. "They'll squabble over the house, the cars, the jewelry, all the things they think matter. But my real will, the one that matters, was filed last month." She leaned closer to the camera, her eyes fierce. "I've watched them all these years, Callie. Watched how they treated you, how they chased status while you built something meaningful. The shelter isn't just a building, it's hope for women who need it most. And you're the only one who truly understands that." A knock at my door made me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Quinn standing in the hallway, shifting nervously. "I know you're home," she called out. "Your car's outside." I closed my laptop and opened the door. "Quinn, what are you doing here?" She brushed past me into the apartment, her designer perfume overwhelming in my small space. I wanted to make sure you understood about tomorrow. It's not personal." "Isn't it?" I gestured to my couch. "Want to sit?" She perched on the edge, looking uncomfortable. "Derek and Camilla think it's better if you're not there. They're worried you might make a scene." "When have I ever made a scene, Quinn?" She had the grace to look embarrassed. "Look, we all know Aunt Lillian was different in her last years. Started acting strange, volunteering at that shelter. Derek thinks she wasn't thinking clearly." I thought of the sharp, determined woman in the video. She knew exactly what she was doing. Did she, though? Quinn stood up, pacing. "She used to take us shopping, buy us whatever we wanted. Then suddenly she's wearing old clothes and hanging out in some charity shelter? That's not normal. Maybe she found something more meaningful than shopping." Quinn stopped pacing, her eyes landing on the papers spread across my table. "What's all that?" I quickly gathered them up. "Just work stuff. Right. Your important shelter work." She headed for the door, then paused. "You know, Camilla's already talking about selling the shelter building. Says the land's worth millions to developers." My heart raced, but I kept my face neutral. "Is that so?" "Just don't get your hopes up about anything, okay? It's better that way." She left, closing the door softly behind her. I returned to my laptop, hitting play on Aunt Lillian's video. "I've left everything to you, Callie," she continued. "The house, the investments, everything. But most importantly, I've left you my truth. Let them have their reading tomorrow. Let them show who they really are. Then, when the time is right, show them who I really was." The video ended. I opened the final letter with trembling fingers. "My dearest Callie, by now they've shown their true colors at the reading. Remember, real strength isn't in attacking, but in standing firm in your truth. The official papers are with my lawyer, Sandra Mills. She'll contact you after tomorrow's charade. The shelter is yours, protected and endowed. The rest, well, let's just say your cousins are in for quite a surprise. Use it wisely, dear one. Show them what real family legacy looks like. All my love, Aunt Lillian." I folded the letter carefully, thinking of Quinn's words about selling the shelter, of Camilla's smugness, of Derek's certainty about who Aunt Lillian was. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from an unknown number. "This is Sandra Mills. Meeting tomorrow after the reading? 4 p.m. at my office. Bring the letters and USB drive." I texted back a simple, "yes," then gathered all of Aunt Lillian's documents into a secure folder. Tomorrow, my cousins would gather to divide what they thought was their inheritance. They had no idea that Aunt Lillian had orchestrated the perfect lesson about karma, justice, and the true meaning of wealth. For now, though, I had a batch of cookies to bake. After all, I had her secret recipe, and the women at the shelter deserved something special. I sat in my car outside the law office, watching my cousins arrive in their luxury vehicles. Through the large windows, I could see them gathering in the conference room, already arguing about something. Even from here, I could read Camilla's animated gestures. She was probably laying claim to Aunt Lillian's art collection. My phone lit up with a text from Chelsea. "The vultures circling yet?" "You have no idea," I replied, then added a photo of Derek dramatically pounding the conference table. I wasn't supposed to be here, but I needed to see this play out. Parking around the corner had given me a perfect view of the show. The lawyer, Mr. Patterson, entered the room with a thin folder, the will they were expecting. My phone rang. Sandra Mills. "Are you watching?" she asked without preamble. "From my car. They're about to start." "Good. Stay there. I want you to see their reactions when they realize that folder contains nothing but a letter." Inside, Mr. Patterson opened the folder. Even from here, I could see Camilla's face redden as he began to read. She shot up from her chair, snatching the paper from his hands. "This is it?" Her voice carried through the glass. "One page? This can't be everything." Quinn pressed her hands to her face while Derek paced the room like a caged animal. I cracked my window to hear better. "This is the only will we have on file," Mr. Patterson said calmly. "It simply states that all matters regarding the estate will be handled by another attorney, Sandra Mills." "Who the hell is Sandra Mills?" Derek's voice boomed. "I've never heard of her," Quinn whispered. "Why would Aunt Lillian do this?" Camilla pulled out her phone, probably Googling Sandra's name. "This doesn't make sense. The house alone is worth millions. The art collection, the investments, where is all of that?" "Perhaps," Mr. Patterson suggested, "you should contact Ms. Mills." "I'm calling our family lawyer," Derek announced. "This is ridiculous. We'll contest it." My phone buzzed again. Sandra. "Time for phase 2. Meet me at my office now." I started my car just as Camilla stormed out of the building, mascara running down her cheeks. She was so focused on her phone, she didn't even notice me driving past. Sandra's office was across town, in a modest building, nothing like the gleaming tower my cousins were leaving. She greeted me with a warm smile and ushered me into her office. "Right on schedule," she said, checking her watch. "They should be calling any—" Her phone rang. She put it on speaker. "Sandra Mills speaking. This is Derek. What kind of game are you playing? Where's our aunt's real will?" "Mr. Hudson, I've been expecting your call. Would you like to schedule a meeting? We demand to know what's going on." Camilla's voice cut in. "We're her children." "Of course," Sandra replied smoothly. "I'm free at 4 p.m. today. Will you all be attending?" "We'll be there with our lawyer," Derek snapped. "Wonderful. Oh, and please be aware, your cousin Callie will be joining us." The line went silent for a moment before Quinn spoke. "Callie, what does she have to do with this?" "Everything will be explained at 4 p.m. See you then." She hung up, turning to me with a twinkle in her eye. "Your aunt was right about them. Now, let's prepare. They'll try to paint you as a manipulator who took advantage of a confused old woman." "But we have the video," I reminded her, "and the letters, and the shelter's documentation, and 5 years of witnesses who saw her volunteer work." Sandra pulled out a thick folder. "Your aunt spent months preparing for this. She wanted to teach them a lesson, yes, but she also wanted to protect you." "I don't care about the money," I said quietly. "I just want to protect her legacy." "The money is part of her legacy," Sandra corrected me. "And she trusted you to use it wisely." My phone chimed with a group text from my cousins. Derek. "Whatever you did to manipulate Aunt Lillian will expose you." Camilla. "Hope you're happy with yourself. This isn't over." Quinn. "How could you do this to us?" Sandra read the messages over my shoulder and smiled. "They still think this is about them. Shall we show them what it's really about?" I thought of Aunt Lillian's video, her letters, her quiet work at the shelter. Yes, I said. It's time they met the real Aunt Lillian. We spent the next hour reviewing documents and preparing for the storm that was coming. At 3:55, Sandra's receptionist buzzed. They're here, all three, plus their lawyer. I took a deep breath, touching the locket Aunt Lillian had given me last Christmas. Inside was a tiny note that read, "Sometimes the greatest gift is showing people who they really are." Ready? Sandra asked, standing. I nodded, straightening my spine. Let's finish what Aunt Lillian started. The conference room crackled with tension as my cousins filed in, their lawyer trailing behind them. Camilla's eyes narrowed when she saw me, while Derek made a show of adjusting his expensive cufflinks. Quinn wouldn't look at me at all. Let's get straight to the point. Their lawyer started, but Sandra held up her hand. Before we begin, we have something you need to see. She set up a laptop on the conference table. This video was recorded by Lillian 2 months ago. Objection. Their lawyer interrupted. We have no way to verify. The video is time-stamped and notarized. Sandra replied calmly, hitting play. Aunt Lillian's face appeared on screen, and Quinn gasped. She looked healthier here than in her final days, but the determination in her eyes was unmistakable. My dear children, she began. If you're watching this, you've already discovered that my will isn't what you expected. You're probably angry, confused, maybe even planning to contest it. Derek shifted uncomfortably in his chair. For years, I've watched you chase status and wealth, treating kindness as weakness and compassion as foolishness. You mocked your cousin Callie for working at a shelter, never knowing I worked alongside her every Tuesday. That's ridiculous, Camilla scoffed. Mom would never... Check my calendar, Aunt Lillian continued, as if anticipating the interruption. Every Tuesday for 5 years. Ask the women at the shelter. While you were at country club luncheons, I was serving soup and counseling abuse survivors. Quinn's face had gone pale. The gardening clothes, she whispered. You said she was going through a strange phase. I've left everything to Callie, Aunt Lillian announced, because she alone understood what real wealth is. The shelter, the house, the investments, all of it. Not out of spite, but because I trust her to use it wisely. This is preposterous. Their lawyer sputtered. Clearly she was being manipulated. Sandra pulled out a thick folder. I have 5 years of documented volunteer hours, witness statements, and medical evaluations proving Lillian was of sound mind when she made these decisions. She was our mother. Derek slammed his hand on the table. Everything was supposed to go to us. Play the rest, I said quietly. It was the first time I'd spoken. Aunt Lillian's voice filled the room again. But I'm offering you one chance. Callie has instructions to set up a charitable foundation. If you choose to participate, to truly understand the work we do, you can each have a role. The choice is yours. Continue fighting over money or help build something meaningful. The video ended. Silence filled the room. This is your doing. Camilla pointed at me, mascara smearing again. You turned her against us. Did I? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos. Here's Aunt Lillian last Christmas, serving dinner at the shelter. Here she is helping a woman move into her first apartment after leaving her abuser. Here she is teaching a financial literacy class to survivors. Quinn grabbed the phone, swiping through pictures with trembling hands. Why didn't she tell us? Would you have listened? I asked gently. Or would you have done exactly what you're doing now? Assume someone manipulated her? The will is ironclad, Sandra added. You can contest it, but you'll lose. And you'll spend years in court while the foundation's work continues without you. Derek stood up abruptly. This is absurd. Come on, we're leaving. But Quinn stayed seated, still staring at my phone. Wait, she said. I want to see the shelter. Quinn, Camilla hissed. Don't fall for this. Fall for what? Quinn's voice cracked. Mom spent 5 years living a whole life we knew nothing about. Don't you want to know why? The foundation meeting is tomorrow at 10 a.m., Sandra said. At the shelter. Anyone who wants to understand Lillian's legacy is welcome to attend. Derek grabbed his suit jacket. This isn't over. Come on, Quinn. But Quinn handed me back my phone, her eyes meeting mine for the first time. I'll be there tomorrow. You're choosing her over us? Camilla's voice rose to a shriek. No. Quinn stood up. I'm choosing to find out who Mom really was. After they left, Sandra turned to me. That went exactly as your aunt predicted. She said Quinn would be the first to understand. I nodded, thinking of the last photo on my phone. Aunt Lillian and me, covered in flour from baking cookies, laughing at the shelter's kitchen. The real her, the one they never knew. The foundation meeting tomorrow, I said. Do you think any of them will actually come? Sandra gathered her papers. Your aunt said to have the cookies ready, just in case. She was usually right about these things. I touched the locket again, smiling. Then I better get baking. I have a recipe after all. At 9:55 the next morning, I arranged Aunt Lillian's cookies on a plate in the shelter's meeting room. Chelsea helped me set up chairs while shooting nervous glances at the door. Are you sure about this? She asked. After yesterday, they might show up with an army of lawyers. Then we'll offer the lawyers cookies too, I said, adjusting the photo display we'd created. Dozens of pictures of Aunt Lillian at the shelter, helping women rebuild their lives. At exactly 10 a.m., Quinn walked in alone. She'd traded her usual designer outfit for jeans and a simple sweater. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying. I brought coffee, she said awkwardly, holding up a carrier. I remembered, in the photos, Mom always had a coffee cup in her hand. French vanilla with extra cream. Chelsea smiled. That was her favorite. I didn't know that, Quinn whispered, setting down the coffee. I didn't know anything. Before I could respond, the door opened again. Camilla stood there, looking uncomfortable in 4-inch heels. This doesn't mean I accept any of this, she announced. I'm just here to protect our interests. Have a cookie, I offered, holding out the plate. Aunt Lillian's recipe. Camilla started to refuse, then froze. Wait, these are her Christmas cookies. The ones she stopped making years ago because she said she was too busy. She made them here every week, Chelsea said. Said the women needed something that tasted like home. Camilla sank into a chair, taking a cookie with trembling hands. Quinn sat beside her, passing her a coffee. Derek's not coming, Quinn said quietly. He's meeting with lawyers about contesting the will. Let me show you something, I said, pulling out Aunt Lillian's volunteer log. Every Tuesday for 5 years. She never missed a day, even when she was sick. Sick? Camilla's head snapped up. What do you mean, sick? The door opened again, and Maria walked in with several other shelter residents. Is it true? Maria asked. About Miss Lillian leaving everything to the shelter? Not exactly, I explained. She left everything to a foundation that will support the shelter and expand its services. She helped me get my GED, one woman spoke up, tutored me every week for months. She taught me how to budget, another added, helped me open my first bank account. Quinn was crying openly now. Why didn't she tell us? Because you wouldn't have understood, a familiar voice said from the doorway. We all turned to see Margaret from the funeral, the country club worker. I helped her keep her secret. She changed clothes in my office before coming here. But why? Camilla demanded. We're her children. She could have told us. Remember when I started volunteering here? I asked gently. You all mocked me, called it a waste of time, said I was embarrassing the family. We were wrong, Quinn whispered. Camilla stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. She was our mother. Everything she had should have gone to us, not some charity case. Is that what you think this is? Chelsea asked, her voice sharp. Come with me. She led us to the shelter's kitchen, where a plaque hung on the wall. It read, The Lillian Hudson Teaching Kitchen, where women learn to feed their souls. Your mother funded this kitchen last year, Chelsea explained. Said every woman deserves a place to create something beautiful. She spent her money on this? Camilla gestured around. Instead of us? No, I corrected her. She invested in changing lives, including yours if you'll let her. The foundation meeting, Quinn said suddenly. What exactly does it involve? I pulled out Aunt Lillian's final plan. Blueprints for expanding the shelter, adding a daycare center, creating job training programs. She wanted it to be a family legacy, I explained, but a different kind than you're used to. I want in, Quinn said firmly. I want to understand who she really was. Camilla stared at the cookie in her hand, then at the women gathered around us. Women whose lives Aunt Lillian had touched. She really came here every week? She asked softly. Maria nodded. Rain or shine, said it was the best part of her week. Camilla's phone buzzed, probably Derek with updates from the lawyers. She silenced it without looking. Show me everything, she said finally. Show me what she did here. I caught Chelsea's eye and smiled. Aunt Lillian had predicted this too, in her final letter. They'll fight it at first, but give them time. Show them what real wealth looks like. The cookies will help. Some lessons are best taught with a little sweetness. I picked up the shelter's volunteer log and opened it to a fresh page. Who wants to sign up for Tuesday shifts? Quinn reached for the pen first. The courthouse steps felt colder than usual as I waited for Sandra to arrive. 2 weeks had passed since the shelter meeting, and Derek had made good on his threat to contest the will. Today was our first hearing. Quinn appeared beside me, clutching 2 coffee cups. Thought you might need this. Thanks, I said, surprised. Are you sure you want to be seen with the enemy? Stop, she sighed. I've been doing shifts at the shelter. I get it now. Mom wasn't crazy or manipulated. She was amazing. Camilla's Mercedes pulled up and she stepped out wearing a simple black suit instead of her usual flashy attire. Derek's already inside with the lawyers. He's not happy I'm testifying for your side. Before I could respond, Sandra arrived with her team, carrying boxes of evidence. Ready? The courtroom was packed. Shelter residents filled the back rows, while Derek sat at the front with 3 expensive lawyers. His face darkened when he saw Camilla and Quinn sit on my side. All rise, the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. Derek's lead lawyer started with exactly the argument we'd expected. Your Honor, we contend that Lillian Hudson was unduly influenced in her final years, led astray from her family obligations by manipulation and— Objection, Sandra interrupted. Counsel is making unfounded accusations. We have extensive documentation of Mrs. Hudson's sound mental state and deliberate choices. Proceed with evidence, Judge Martinez ordered. Sandra played the video testimony. Then came the parade of witnesses. Shelter residents, volunteers, even Lillian's doctors confirming her mental clarity. But the real shock came when Quinn took the stand. Miss Hudson, Derek's lawyer approached. Isn't it true your mother showed signs of mental decline? No. Quinn's voice was firm. She showed signs of being herself, her real self, for the first time in years. I just didn't want to see it. But surely you agree this radical change in behavior? You mean helping others instead of buying designer handbags? Quinn interrupted. I've spent 2 weeks working at the shelter. I've seen the lives she changed. The only thing radical was how blind we were. Derek stood up, face red. She's been brainwashed too. Mr. Hudson, the judge warned, control yourself. Next came Camilla's testimony. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking slightly. I'd like to play something, she said. A voicemail from Mom I saved from last year. I didn't understand it then. The court fell silent as Aunt Lillian's voice filled the room. Camilla, darling, I wish you could see what I see at the shelter today. A woman just got her first job after leaving an abusive marriage. She's starting over with nothing, but she has everything. Reminds me of what real strength looks like. I hope someday you'll understand. Love you. I deleted all her other messages about the shelter. Camilla's voice cracked. I thought she was going through a phase. I was wrong. Derek's lawyers huddled together, whispering urgently. But their star witness was yet to come. A private investigator they'd hired to dig into my past. Miss Hudson, he addressed me on the stand. Isn't it true you orchestrated this entire situation? Befriended your aunt when she was vulnerable? I opened my handbag and pulled out a stack of papers. These are donation records from the shelter. Every Tuesday for 5 years, Aunt Lillian came on her own. She found us. She chose this path. I never asked her for anything. But surely, I have security footage, I continued. 5 years of her arriving every week, helping women rebuild their lives. Would you like to see it? The investigator faltered. Derek's face had gone from red to pale. Then Maria stood up in the back of the courtroom. Your Honor, may I speak? The judge nodded. Miss Lillian saved my life. Maria's voice shook. Not with money, but with time, with cookies, with believing in me. She wasn't manipulated. She was the strongest person I knew. One by one, women stood up in the courtroom, each with a story about Aunt Lillian's impact on their lives. Judge Martinez raised her hand for silence. I've seen enough. This will is not only valid, but represents a clear and conscious choice by Lillian Hudson to create a meaningful legacy. Case dismissed. Derek stormed out, his lawyers trailing behind. Quinn and Camilla hugged me, both crying. He'll come around, Quinn whispered. Eventually. Outside, the shelter residents were celebrating. Chelsea appeared with a familiar-looking cookie tin. Found this in Lillian's old office, she said. It's marked for the day they finally understand. Inside were cookies, still fresh, with a note. Share these when the fighting stops. Real family is built on love, not lawyers. L. We passed them around, standing in the sunshine, watching as Derek's car sped away. Sometimes I realized winning isn't about defeating someone. It's about showing them a better way to be. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fresh paint as I unlocked the shelter's new front doors. The expanded building gleamed in the morning light, 3 times larger than before, with the daycare center Aunt Lillian had dreamed of. Still can't believe how fast construction finished, Quinn said, falling into step beside me. She'd traded her designer wardrobe permanently for practical clothes, perfect for chasing after the shelter's children. The contractor said he'd never seen permits processed so quickly, I replied. Almost like someone pulled some strings at City Hall. Quinn smiled mysteriously. Camilla might have mentioned something about that. Turns out her country club connections are good for more than just charity galas. Inside, the new teaching kitchen buzzed with activity. Camilla stood at the center island, her sleeves rolled up, teaching a cooking class to 5 residents. Remember what Aunt Lillian always said. She demonstrated proper knife technique. Cooking is therapy for the soul. Speaking of therapy, Quinn nodded toward the new counseling wing. Did you see the waiting list for Sandra's legal aid clinic? Full through December, I confirmed. Turns out combining legal services with emotional support was exactly what many women needed. The front desk phone rang. Maria, now our full-time office manager, answered it. Lillian Hudson Women's Center, she said proudly. Then her expression changed. Oh, yes, he's welcome to come tour the facility. She covered the receiver. It's Derek. He wants to see the center. Quinn and I exchanged glances. We hadn't heard from our brother since the court case 3 months ago. Tell him to come now, I decided. We're all here. 20 minutes later, Derek walked through the doors, looking uncomfortable in casual clothes instead of his usual suit. This is different than I expected, he said, taking in the bright, welcoming space. Come see everything. Quinn linked her arm through his, starting with Mom's favorite spot. We showed him the teaching kitchen, where Camilla's class was pulling fresh cookies from the oven. The daycare center, where children of shelter residents played safely while their mothers attended job training. The counseling rooms, the computer lab, the rooftop garden. And this, I saved for last, is what Aunt Lillian left for you. I opened her old office, now a financial literacy classroom. On the wall hung a photo of young Derek sitting on Aunt Lillian's lap, both laughing as he tried to balance her checkbook. She said you were the first person who made her think about money differently, I explained. That's why she wanted you to run the Foundation's financial education program. But I fought the will, he said quietly. Tried to destroy everything she built. And now you have a chance to build something new. Camilla appeared in the doorway, offering him a cookie. That's what Mom was all about, right? Second chances? Derek took the cookie, staring at the photo. I was so angry about the money, about being left out. I never stopped to ask why. So ask now, Quinn suggested. We're all still learning who Mom really was. A commotion from the front desk interrupted us. A new arrival, a young mother with 2 small children, looking terrified and hopeful. I'll handle intake, Maria started to say, but Derek stepped forward. Let me, he said. I'd like to learn how to help. We watched as he introduced himself, gently offered the children cookies, showed them to the daycare center while Maria helped their mother with paperwork. He's a natural, Quinn whispered. Just like Mom was. Later, as the sun set through the new stained glass windows Aunt Lillian had designed, we gathered in the kitchen. Derek rolled up his sleeves and reached for the recipe card box. Think you can teach me how to make her cookies? He asked. Better. Camilla pulled out a familiar tin. Found this in her desk. Label says, for when the family's complete again. Inside were perfect cookies and a note. Some ingredients take time to blend properly. Love is patient that way. We shared the cookies, sitting together in the kitchen where it all began. Through the open door, we could hear women laughing in the computer lab, children playing in the daycare, lives being rebuilt piece by piece. She knew, didn't she? Derek said softly. That it would end like this? Not end, I corrected him. Begin. She always said real wealth grows when you share it. Quinn raised her cookie in a toast. To Aunt Lillian's real legacy. To family, Camilla added. To second chances, Derek said. I looked around at my transformed family and our transformed shelter and smiled. To all of it, I said. Every single crumb.